tuned for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro,
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
the sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida TV. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Matt Ohayon with you on another Friday evening, the first Friday of the NHL season, but there are no NHL games on the schedule. How about that? The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset-light 3PL that's driven to be different. From cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States, Energy moves it all. They're fast, reliable, and powered by tech that delivers smart logistics. If you need a real partner in transportation, contact the team at sick@shipenergy.com and see how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. You haven't really played poker until you played at Playground. Voted the fan choice best poker room at the 2025 Global Poker Awards. Enjoy free drinks at every table and free food at cash games and daily tournaments, plus the biggest events in the game like the World Poker Tour and WSOP Circuit. And don't miss your shot at the world record bad beat jackpot, now closing in on $1 million. Just minutes away from downtown Montreal, across the Mercier Bridge, this is Playground. We're also brought to you by Bittt Tibi beer. Bittt Tibi has launched their new Ultra Lager, a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer perfect for those cool fall days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, and 4% alcohol per can. Available in packs of 6 and 12 in grocery stores and dépanneurs across the province of Quebec. Ultra light and ultra refreshing. And finally, go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $300 on your first bet. On your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen and click the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Offer is available only for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario. You must be 18 years or older, and please play responsibly. Okay, we're not used to this. 2 games back-to-back to start the season like that. Quick bang, bang. Canadians obviously lose in Toronto 5-2, really 3-2, but there were 2 empty net goals. And then they rebound nicely against the Detroit Red Wings in Detroit, a place where they haven't had much success in the recent past. So let's bring him in. He's my usual Friday guest. This is
Stu Cowan. Presented by Au Noir. Quality clothing for the modern man.
Stu, what's going on?
Very cool. Sponsorship now.
Well, that's right. That's right.
It's going well, but how weird is that? Friday night, the NHL, no games on the schedule. Give people a taste, get the season rolling, and then a Friday night, people coming home from work, start their weekend, and there's no games to watch. That's really weird.
Yeah, well, listen, the NHL, they don't usually do things right. They get one thing right every once in a while, like they did the Four Nations, but, they don't I guess they said they couldn't go up against the one MLB playoff game that will be taking place tonight. That's what they cannot go up against. Very strange indeed. Not a strange start for the season for the Montreal Canadiens because it feels like they picked up, honestly, right where they left off in last year's regular season. Playing a complete team game. Honestly, in both games, they just didn't get the result in the first one. I found they played pretty well. And last night, they get the result in Detroit. Detroit, heading into last night's game, was 6-1-2 at home against the Canadiens in their last 9. So that was a big win for the Canadiens because you don't want to start the season 0-2, and they don't.
No, goaltending was a problem for the Red Wings last night, obviously, and it wasn't for the Canadiens. And Jakub Dobes, without him last year, the Canadiens don't make the playoffs, right? I mean, they had reached the point with Caden Primo where Marty St. Louis didn't trust them at all. Sam Montembeault went through a stretch where he played 21 out of 23 games before they called Dobes up from Laval and sent down Caden Primo. And after that, they had a backup goalie the coach could trust, and a backup goalie could win games for them. And last night, Jakub Dobes helped them win the game. He played a big, big role in that. And moving forward, I wrote a column this week saying I believe this Canadiens team can reach or at least come close to 100 points this season. And I think Dobes is a big reason for that because it'll cut down on some of the workload for Sam Montembeault, who played 62 games last year. Only 2 goalies played more than him with 63. But yeah, a good start. The Canadiens played well both games. As you mentioned, the first game was 3-2. It wasn't 5-2. The 2 empty net goals. You could say they took most of the play to the Leafs. And last night against the Red Wings, they're fun to watch. Marty's talked all training camp, and we've seen it in practices and that about how he wants to be so aggressive in the offensive zone and in the neutral zone to not even allow the other team to get into their zone. And we saw that last night. We saw the defense pinching at the blue line. We saw them also being really aggressive in the neutral zone and very effective, frustrating the Red Wings. You're going to frustrate a lot of teams this year doing that. And with that top pairing on defense of Dobson and Matheson, they're made for that. 2 big guys who can cover a lot of ground. And I thought they've really been effective the first 2 games for the Canes of that style of play that Marty St. Louis wants to play. And as I mentioned, they're going to frustrate a lot of teams like that. And if they continue to get the goaltending like they got from Dobes last night, Montembeault was okay in the first game, wasn't great. But if they can continue to get solid goaltending, they're going to, as I said, I believe this is a team that can, if not reach 100 points, get close to it and be in the playoffs long before the final game of the season.
I agree. It's a long way to go. And, it's looking like, listen, we're only 2 games in, but Buffalo does not look good. Again, videos popping up of their fans screaming outside the arenas already, and it's game 2 or game 2 for the Canadiens. We're not even a week into the season, and Buffalo is already losing it. Detroit, again, they're just a team that still needs to show us at this point, because every year it seems like they're coming. A lot of question marks about Florida, honestly, with the
key injuries.
Key injuries, big ones too. It's a lot of question marks there. Tampa Bay is going to be Tampa Bay. Ottawa looks good. Toronto, couple of questions. I'd be surprised if they missed the playoffs. And then Boston, they finished bottom 5 in the league last year. You'd have to think that they can't make such a leap.
Yeah, well, you talk about Buffalo. The Canes are the youngest team in the NHL this season to start the season. Year 4 of a rebuild. They've already made the playoffs last season. As I mentioned, I think that their team can get close to 100 points this season. The second youngest team is Buffalo. They've missed the playoffs 14 straight years. And you look at that just highlights how impressive this rebuilding process has been so far with Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton, that going into year 4, the expectation is they're going to be in the playoffs, and they should be. They're just a fun, exciting, the youngest team in the NHL, even younger than they were last year. And they've got a lot of things going for them. It's interesting you mentioned too, with the Leafs, game 1, I wrote a column on how the Canadiens' PK actually looked pretty good. The Leafs had 2 shots on goal in their 2 power plays against the Canadiens. Part of that is the Canadiens' PK was good. Another part of that is Mitch Marner is no longer with the Leafs. And that's going to be really interesting to see how much of an impact not just having Mitch Marner on the ice, but not having him as a scapegoat for everything that goes wrong with the Leafs, which has been the case the previous few years.
Well, it looks like Austin Matthews is going to, as captain, he should have been taking the brunt of that. And it looks like it's got to be him at this point. What are you going to blame a $4 million man in John Tavares? It's just, anyways.
I'll never forget Matthews' comment at the end of last season that we had too many passengers without including himself in that. That was not a captain speaking, but the Canadiens, you compare Matthews as a captain to the job that Nick Suzuki's done as a captain here in the leadership role that he's had since he's come here, how he's embraced it, how much. He is the leader of this team right now, on and off the ice. He leads more by example than anything else, but the team's following him. And this is a young, exciting team to watch. They're, as Marty has said since he came in here teaching these guys, that he had a book he was teaching them, but he was going page by page and chapter by chapter. He wasn't throwing the whole book at them at the same time. And we're at the point now where we're near the end of that book, although he said that book continues to evolve. But this team seems to remember how confused they looked last year in their own zone with that sort of hybrid system to start the season. They look like they're all on the same page now. A lot of these guys have been here right since the start of this rebuild. Marty said after the game last night that he's not the only one coaching them now. The players are also coaching the younger guys as they come in because they understand the system he wants to play so well. And as I said, that aggressive system, they have the players to play it. They play with a lot of pace, a lot of speed. They have some size, and they're not fun to play against. And they have a defense. Their defense, Dobson for Savard, that's a huge upgrade right there as far as more talent, younger, and more mobility. And I think that number 1 pairing now with some fans were questioning it with Dobson and Matheson. After 2 games, I think they might be seeing now why that's the decision Marty St. Louis came to.
Au Noir is every man's one-stop shop. Shirts, pants, polos, suits, or sports jackets. Everything is made for comfort with stretch and sophisticated details for the perfect fit. Whether you're going for a classic, bold look, heading to the office, a night out, or cheering for your team, Au Noir has you covered, because Au Noir isn't just clothing, it's your attitude. Check them out today at aunoir.com. And trust me, once you go Au Noir, you never go back. I love that. So I'm happy you brought up Dobson and Matheson, because I think through 2 games, they have just been absolutely phenomenal. Dobson, listen, we live in an age where, the most recent game doesn't matter if it was preseason, regular season, playoff, doesn't matter. Even if it was a practice clip, if you look bad, everyone's going to overreact. It's a world of overreactions. And I think a lot of Canadiens fans heading into this season, after the preseason, were very concerned with what they saw from Noah Dobson. And you just got to remember, Thomas Plekanec, he never tried in the preseason. And Noah Dobson, I'm not going to say he wasn't trying, but he looks like a completely different player from what he looked like in the preseason.
Well, he was also nursing a groin injury he suffered during training camp, right? Remember, it was the first game he left early, and he left to the bench a little bit last season, or the locker room. It might have just been for equipment issue or whatever. He wasn't gone very long. But yeah, veteran guys, and he spoke about this. Like he knows what he needs to do to get ready for the season, get his reps, and you're not going to go all out in the preseason, especially not if you have a groin that's maybe bothering you a little bit. But the other big thing with him coming here, and it's going to really help Matheson. Matheson led the Canadiens in ice time last year, was 7th in the NHL, like 25 minutes a game. After 2 games now, he's averaging 21-27. And just looking at the average ice times here, after 2 games, Hutson 21-52, Matheson 21-27, Dobson 21-23, Gooley 20-43, Carrier 17-17, and then Jacky 13-23. So the ice time among the defensemen is spread out much more evenly now than it was before, now that David Savard's not there. And I think that's going to make Mike Matheson even better. I mean, fans who don't like Mike Matheson harp on the sort of the giveaways or getting caught or pinching. And, when you're tired late in the game, you're more likely to make mistakes when you're logging that kind of minutes. So I think that bringing in Dobson is going to level out those minutes for Matheson. If he plays 3-4 minutes a game less, that's a lot less ice time over the course of the season. And I think we're seeing Mike Matheson now at his best. I mean, I think he's been good since he came here. Went from an offensive role 2 years ago to last year having a more defensive role, especially on the PK. And now with Noah Dobson here, as I said, I think that's a really good first pairing in today's NHL and in the style that Marty St. Louis wants to play.
Well, we talk a lot. The Canadiens, I think it's clear, have a bona fide first line, but a lot of teams have a 1A, 1B, or that's the case with goaltenders. I think that is the case with defensemen, the defenseman pairings.
Yeah.
I think they have a 1A, 1B, and they know they can rely on either of those pairs in any situation. And again, it's just going to help Matheson so much, because I always said if he is going in as your team's number 3 or number 4 defenseman, you are in fantastic shape, because of the type of player. We saw what he was able to do offensively as a number 1. And listen, you play 25, 27 minutes a night. You're going to get tired. You're going to make boneheaded mistakes, and you're just going to make mistakes by proxy of being on the ice for that long. So Matheson also just looks incredible right now. Again, very early on, but this has been as promising as a start for the Canadiens as we've seen in quite a few years now. Because I remember, if you remember, Stu, the first year that the first full season that Kent Hughes took over, the Canadiens, everyone was kind of expecting them to just be bottom feeders the whole year, and they kind of treaded water, 50-50. We're playing 500 hockey till about the Christmas break, and then the wheels fell off. But they haven't looked this good to start a season in quite a few years.
No, it's just a combination of all the stuff Marty St. Louis taught them over the last few years. As Brendan Gallagher said last night after the game in Detroit, he talks and we listen. And Brendan Gallagher, as a veteran, is one of those guys. Remember when they came in and started the rebuild, Gallagher was at a point in his career where a rebuild wasn't really something he was that interested in, right? I mean, he's at a stage in his career, a lot less days ahead of you than there were behind you, wanting to win. And I'm sure this rebuild has gone a lot quicker than even he expected it would go. And he's a key role. He's got 3 assists in the first 2 games. He's looked fantastic. He's had jump in his step. He's looked really good playing with Bolduc on that line with Doc. And it's really worked out well with Marty St. Louis. As I said, just coming in from the start. He mentioned when he first came in here, he was just basically letting the guys go out and play offense because things were so bad. I mean, the team was in a bad place mentally. Remember Josh Anderson saying it wasn't fun coming to the rink anymore. He just let them play offense at first, have some fun, go out there, do your thing. And then he's cut every year. He's focused more on the exact type of play he wants to play. And as I said, he's done it page by page, chapter by chapter. And he's a great motivator at Marty St. Louis, and he's a great teacher. And these guys are all buying what he's been selling, from the youngest guy in the team up to the oldest guy. You look at, he talked about how he wasn't going to teach Cole Caulfield how to score goals, but he could show him how to get in better positions and become a better 200-foot player. And Cole Caulfield's also become a much more physical player since Marty took over. And Marty played a physical style, even though he won the Lady Byng Trophy 3 times. He wasn't afraid to go in and throw his weight around a bit and fight for pucks. And I've noticed that with Cole Caulfield this season, especially away from the puck, throwing in little shots at a guy or finishing checks that maybe he didn't finish before. He's bulked up more. He's bigger than he was, obviously, when he first came into the league. But they're all just they all. It's one thing for a coach coming with a plan, but if 5 or 6 guys on the team think this is stupid, and that's exactly what happened with Dominic Ducharme. Remember that system he had? The guys in the room were not buying what he was selling, and Jeff Petrie became the spokesperson for the team at that time and took some heat for it, but became a spokesperson rather than a young captain having to do that. The veteran guy stepped up as an assistant captain and did it, but the players weren't buying into what Ducharme was selling, and it showed on the ice. You can tell the way the Canadiens are playing right now, they're all buying what Marty St. Louis is selling. They all believe in the system he wants to play. It's a fun system to play. It's fast-paced. They have a lot of guys who are fast-paced, and they're really grasping it, and the more they win, I mean, last season down the stretch, they went 7-1-2 in their last 10 games to get into the playoffs. So feeding off of that and coming into this season, there's a confidence level that this team has now, even though they're the youngest team in the NHL.
Well, adding to that, he brings down the average age on that team is someone who's fit in amazingly in this system that Martin St. Louis has been implementing, and it's Zachary Bolduc. I think everyone knew he would be good and he would be a solid player. I don't think anyone could have imagined the start he's gotten off to. He looks like he is going to fit in just swimmingly, and he looks like a prime Josh Anderson, frankly, out there with his physicality and his willingness to go into corners and fetch pucks, and he could rip the puck also. Very funny just to see last night. It was the St. Louis Blues home opener, and teams were, fans of the St. Louis Blues were absolutely freaking out that Zachary Bolduc had 2 goals, looked like it could have been 3, and they are not impressed, to put it lightly, with the play of Logan Mailloux right now. So another just phenomenal trade for Kent Hughes, and another piece for Martin St. Louis to fit into this puzzle that is the Canadiens.
Yeah, I mean, he's Zachary Bolduc's always been able to score goals going back to junior, and played for Patrick Roy for 2 years with the Ramparts, and Patrick Roy taught him how to become a 200-foot player in a very similar way that Marty St. Louis has done with Cole Caulfield. It's interesting when you mentioned Josh Anderson, because during training camp, I asked Anderson what he thought about Bolduc. The Canadiens don't play the Blues that often during the season, only a couple of times a year. And I have the quote here in front of me that from Anderson. He said, I just like his energy level that he plays with. It looks like he's flying everywhere up the ice, trying to use his body as much as he can. He kind of reminds me of Gallagher, really. Just hard to play against. Wants the puck, has a good shot, a lot of good things that he has in his game. He's really impressed me. And him and Gallagher together, right, that they look fantastic. I mean, that little pass that Gallagher gave him last night to get it going in the breakaway. Gallagher's got 3 assists in the first 2 games. He seems to have an added jump to his step with Bolduc in the lineup. Gallagher came into training camp thinking he was going to be on the 4th line with Anderson and Jake Evans, and I thought that was going to be a great line. I've mentioned on the podcast with you earlier, I thought they'd put that line together and just leave them there. But Marty tinkered a bit, and Gallagher with Bolduc is really, they've really clicked together, and it's been fun to watch. And, Brendan Gallagher, you're going to get everything out of him every single game, and that's never going to change. He had a good summer working out. He said he felt great coming into the thing. Some people forget he was finished 3rd on the team in goals last season. The only 2 guys who scored more goals than him were Caulfield and Suzuki. Really impressive start for Brendan Gallagher and Bolduc.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see listen, we're never not going to see Brendan Gallagher in the mix, mixing it up physically and giving it his all. But I think we're going to see him a little more energized because they have a player like Bolduc who will be going into those dirty areas and fetching the puck more often. That burden doesn't have to be shouldered the entire time by Brendan Gallagher. So it's I don't think anyone expected it, but it looks like a match made in heaven right now, those two. And, there's not much bad you could say with the Montreal Canadiens. And we won't say bad because, frankly, it's not deserved right now as a unit. I could say that another player that I was wrong about, frankly, well, I wouldn't say wrong. It's just I said that they need to prove to me, and I'm not all that impressed. Well, through 2 games, I am all that impressed with Oliver Kapanen. He looks like he belongs. He looks. I won't go this far, but if he keeps on the track that he is on, He looks like he has second line center potential. I won't, make that sweeping statement right away, but he looks very, very good. And I forget who said it. It was, maybe a couple episodes ago. I think it was Nicolas Cloutier when I was with him. He said he's just a very intelligent player and has such high hockey sense. And, it was on full display.
As Marty St. Louis as an NHL computer, as far as his hockey IQ, he's impressed me right through training camp and in the preseason. And you think when you're sitting in the press box, we're 8 floors up at the Bell Center, and you see the game differently than you do watching it on TV. You can see more of what guys do away from the puck. And he really impressed me during the preseason games, just the way he plays away from the puck. He's really smart, positions himself well, gets open for guys, finds the open guy, and has a scoring touch, which we've seen already. As this rebuild moves forward, they're going to have to give more and more young guys, put them into bigger roles. And this was a case of Marty St. Louis. He beat out Kirby Dach for that second line center job at training camp, and he's making the most of his opportunity there. Marty also said that he's more physical now. He's gained a little bit of weight, Kapanen. We've seen that also. He's just a really good, really smart hockey player. And those are the kind of guys Marty St. Louis wants, right? The guys that are skilled with a high hockey IQ and willing to learn. And he's really, really fit in well. I mean, with Newhook and Demidov, they had Demidov with Dach and Laine to start the season, 2 guys that are struggling. Not really the best situation to put Demidov in. And Kapanen and Newhook has that speed that's really effective. We saw that last night again. We've seen it on the PK also. So that's been an effective line. So a couple of changes that Marty made at training camp with that line and with Gallagher, moving him, they've really paid off, and we've seen that early in the season.
Yeah, and for those other 2 guys, they're going to have to figure it out on their own, because everyone is every other duo, trio, whatever you want to call, is humming and working, and it's up to them to figure it out at this point.
And Joe Veleno's sitting in the press box waiting, right? And when he gets in, it's either going to be Laine or Dach coming out, you have to think. And Laine, to his credit, he's worked really hard. He worked hard in the summer. He worked hard at training camp. He's worked hard through the first 2 games. The effort level is there. The problem is his speed. He has a hard time keeping up with the pace of play that Marty St. Louis wants to play, and that's an issue at 5-on-5 moving forward. Veleno has that speed. We saw that during training camp. So it's going to be interesting to see how long Marty lets Joe Veleno sit in the press box, whether we see him as early as tomorrow night against Chicago, a team he was with last season. That's a possibility. But yeah, there's so much competition now for jobs with the Canadiens, not just in the NHL, but obviously in the AHL also, with Florian Jacki being sent down and Adam Engstrom being sent down, etc. And Marty also said he prefers to keep 13 forwards than 14 forwards, because 14 forwards mean guys aren't playing for too long, too much of a time, and it also puts more pressure on the other guys when there's only one guy sitting up there waiting to get in. So it's going to be interesting to see if as early as tomorrow night, if we see Joe Veleno get the lineup.
Yeah, you'd have to think that there's no real sense of urgency right now. Like you said, the effort level is there.
Yeah,
it's not like he's just going out there and dogging it. It's just the game is moving too fast for him right now. Is that I'm sure Martin St. Louis is going to work with him to find a way to slow the game down. The one thing that
you can't teach you speed.
Well, that's it. It's foot speed that he's missing, and the one thing that he just needs to clean up at this point is the turnovers at the right when he comes in through the blue line and turning the puck over on top of the hash mark or the circle. That needs to stop, because it really just it tires you out. You already skated all the way back up the ice, and then you're going back the other way right away. That's one thing that I think. Honestly, if he cleans that up, we're talking Patrick Laine right now. Yeah. If he cleans that up, a lot of things would go away, or the noise around him would go away, at least at 5-on-5, because it's just, those are just killer at this point, especially with the type of game that the Canadiens want to play.
Yeah, and he's got to keep the puck moving forward, right? That's the thing with him. Those cross ice passes, either just inside the defensive zone or just as you're getting into the offensive zone that result in 3-on-2s going the other way, and your forwards flat-footed a bit or cut out of the position. So for Laine, and I'd love to see Laine get it together this season. For everything he's gone through, and he seems mentally in a really good spot. He really wants to stay in Montreal. He's spoken about that. Had a chance to speak with his wife before one of the preseason games. I saw her in the elevator at the Bell Center, and she was telling me how much they love living in Montreal, and they absolutely love it here, and they want to stay here. But again, it's going to be tough for him with this system that Marty plays.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we know he's going to score goals. That's no doubt about it.
On the power play,
this guy, he could, he scores 30 falling out of bed. Kind of thing on a season. So, but it's like that. It's like we always say that famous line, which is by Pat Hickey, which is you score 30 goals. There's at least 52 other games you're not scoring. So you better make an impact elsewhere. And he struggles with that right now, and has been struggling with that. Look, another player that I think Canadiens fans can be pleased with, more than pleased with, is Juraj Slafkovsky. Looking very engaged through the first two games, ripping the puck. That's what we wanted to see more of, him shooting more, which we're seeing. And it looks like he is well aware that he is making $7.6 million this year, and he is no longer on a rookie contract because, again, just through two games, he looks like it looks like the work that he has put in this summer has been paying off.
Definitely. Just go back to line for 1 second. I just looked it up here. The year he scored 44 goals with the Jets, he had 20 on the power play. So he had 24 at 5-on-5. Last year he had 15 on the power play and 5 at 5-on-5. So as the game's gotten quicker, his ability to score 5-on-5 has come down. But with Slafkovsky, he keeps saying he needs to play like Brady Tkachuk, and now he needs to start doing it more. We've seen spurts of it so far through the first two games. He's got to still be more consistent with it. Big contract. He's also got more pressure on him this season as far as that spot on the number one line isn't as guaranteed as it probably was in the past with Demidov and even Bolduc now, the way they've been playing. But for Slafkovsky also, late in the game last night, he had another one of those bad cross-ice passes in his own zone. They're up 5-1, so it wasn't – I'm sure Marty still went, ugh. But 5-1 game, a little different than 2-1. But he still has a habit of doing those kind of things. He's still a young guy. But for Slafkovsky, this is a huge, huge season for him. First year of the big contract. He's got more competition now for the number one line. He's got more competition for his spot on the number one power play. I'm surprised Demidov's not on the number one power play to start the season. So for Slafkovsky, it's got to, and he said this too. There was a story with Arpon Basu this week. He's saying, it's enough talking. It's time for me to start showing it with my play. And we'll see if he can do that. Consistency has been his biggest problem. He's that slow start. It's good that he got the goal early because he's been a real slow starter in previous seasons. So that might give him a little bit more of a boost, get off to a better start. But, the leash with Marty St. Louis with a lot of his players is going to be shorter this year. And I think that's also with Juraj Slafkovsky. Still young, but, 4th season in the NHL. He can't be making those mistakes like the one late in the game, just sort of throwing it cross ice in your own zone. Dangerous move. He's got to clean that stuff up.
Well, and if maybe others had seen, if you were watching other games around the NHL last night, really no lead is safe because the Winnipeg Jets were down 5-1 against the Dallas Stars, and then they almost came back. They made it 5-4. Comeback fell short. But it's scary when that happens. That's why in the NHL, no lead is ever safe, and you got to play at a consistent level, like you said. But again,
not just the Habs. Like watching all the games, the pace of play in the NHL every year gets quicker. It's incredible the pace these guys are able to play with. Yeah,
and to go back to Slafkovsky, I think also just the other encouraging sign is that just like the level of engagement that we're seeing from that top line right from the get-go. Of course, we're never going to be concerned over a season with Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and Slafkovsky, but a lot of people forget that beginning of last year, they did not look good, to the point where I think it was 2 weeks into the season. It was a game in New York on Long Island, and the Canadiens fell into a shootout with the Islanders, and he straight up benched Martin St. Louis benched those three guys in the shootout. He did not play them because they didn't deserve it. Their effort level wasn't there, and it wasn't there for about the first 2-3 weeks of the season, but they're so skilled that they just fall into points. Well, we haven't really seen that. The first game was a little bit of a rusty one, I would call it, for Nick Suzuki. Cole Caulfield looked okay, like you said. Slafkovsky, at points. But then the second game, outside of that pass, I found the first line to be very good. And like you said, they get a goal assisted by points for all three of the players, and that'll hopefully give them more of a boost going forward into tomorrow night against frankly another Chicago team that isn't expected to do so well. But those teams are often the hungriest, as we've seen with the Canadiens. So I'm excited for tomorrow night's game, as we should be. We should be excited to watch every game that this team plays at this point.
Yeah, the other thing, after a 1-1 start, as Marty St. Louis and Nick Suzuki were saying after last night's game, it's very true. They could easily beat 2-0. The goal in Toronto there with the broken stick. Matheson and Hutson both had a stick on the same play. I don't remember seeing that happen before for the winning goal. But they could be 2-0, and that's with only getting one goal from their first line. I mean, Suzuki hasn't scored yet. Caulfield hasn't scored yet. Slafkovsky's got the one goal. So this has been a team that relied so heavily on that top line to provide like 80% of their scoring. Now you got Bolduc with 2 goals. You got Kapanen with 2 goals. But then you've also got Matheson and Alexander Carrier with a goal each. So the way the defense was talking earlier about being more aggressive in the neutral zone and more aggressive forechecking is opening up more scoring opportunities for the defense. It was a beautiful goal Mike Matheson scored last night. The way he cut across and waited for an angle and saw an opening, and then Carrier just firing it in from the point. It looked like Bolduc had deflected it at first, but he kept the goal. So yeah, if they need more offense from their other lines and from their defense if they're going to reach that, get close to that 100-point mark that I mentioned earlier. And the start of the season has been promising when it comes to that.
Well, we're going to see what they can cook up because, just to go back to, you mentioned Ivan Demidov, who, didn't look great in the first game. The power play is an interesting one to me. I think that's something that a lot of people can point to. Listen, I understand there's a wealth of talent on the Canadiens, and I understand you have a $9.5 million defenseman, soon to have probably 2 of them on your blue line. But this 1A, 1B power play stuff isn't really working for me.
Yeah, I mean, the first couple of games in the second unit was getting on with like 20 seconds left in the power plays, right? They weren't getting any time to do anything really.
Yeah, exactly. With all that talent on it, it's either load up the first unit with your 5 best players or, really give it minute each, because it's just the power play. I mean, we sound like broken records, but it is something that it's a good problem to have. Listen, they have a lot of talent.
Yeah, I'm really surprised Demontov's not in the first unit. I mean,
yeah, me too. Especially with how he looked in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, especially how he looked in the playoffs, and they sort of have Slafkovsky more of a on the wall there, and I think that's more of a spot for Demidov. I understand Bolduc out there. I mean, he was good on the power play last year for St. Louis, and is using him in sort of that bumper spot. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how long they go, or Marty St. Louis goes before Demidov gets his chance on that number 1 unit. Similar to last season when we were all wondering when Lane Hutson was going to get a chance on that number 1 unit.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to see it come. I don't know about how much, how long that leash is going to be, like you mentioned, because last year with Mike Matheson being taken off, that's a veteran guy who's been around the NHL. And there's a lot of pride there. Slafkovsky, it's his 4th year, but that's not exactly what you would call a veteran.
No, and I mean, a lot of things have been sort of given to Slafkovsky since he came here. Understand, he was a number 1 pick, right? You want him to succeed. He didn't start right away on the number 1 line, but he was sort of given that, like you knew he was going to get there. Same with the number 1 power play. And as I mentioned earlier, this season he's going to have to show that he belongs on that number 1 line. and that he belongs in that number one power play unit. He's going to have, Demidov breathing down his neck, and he's going to have, from what we've seen in the start of the season, Bolduc breathing down his neck too. So that's a good situation. It's a good situation to be in, and it should be a good situation for Slafkovsky too. If he needed any sort of added motivation, there it is right there.
Well, it's funny because the goal he scored last night, I find that's his best. That's where he's at his best.
Yeah.
In front of the net, cleaning
Big
up the rebounds.
Big body move. Yeah.
That's where I find he's at his best. So I don't know why they're not using him in that spot. He doesn't have to lead. He doesn't have to quarterback just because he's a first overall pick. It doesn't mean he's going to be the quarterback of that second unit. That's Noah Dobson's job. He's going to be leading that line. So I think it really is just a matter of time. And also, frankly, I think the power play could be used to spark something out of the top line or those players that you don't want to say they're struggling because again, you're two games into the season and they haven't looked bad. It's just they're not when Nick Suzuki is on the ice and Cole Caulfield are on the ice last year, especially near the end of the season, it was like, okay, something's going to happen. And right now it's, they're missing a little something. So just hopefully the power play, if the teams will be taking penalties against the Canadiens, can give them the jump. One soon to be probably $9.5, if not more, $1 million defenseman in Lane Hutson. It's funny we mentioned that earlier that we were seeing a little bit of an edge to Oliver Kapanen bumping people. Lane Hutson in his own end, I could count on two hands through two games how many times I've seen, probably in each game, where he's going for a hit, this little guy and muscling people off the puck. You want to talk about off-season work paying off. Lane Hutson, there's just not enough good things to say about him, but for him to add a little bit of a physical element to his game, obviously limited by his size, he is going to be he's going to be another force this season. I don't expect a sophomore slump from him.
No, I mean, he's physically stronger than he was last year. You see it when you see him walking around. He's added some muscle to him from last season. He's always been good at his angles and getting leverage, getting down lower guys. He's not afraid to play defense. I mean, he's aggressive playing defensively, and he wins a lot of puck battles against guys that are a lot bigger than him. You're wondering at this point how much, if the contract situation might be weighing on him just a little bit. We've heard all the reports that it hasn't been going great, getting personal, and his dad's involved there too with a loud voice, and sort of brings back bad memories of Alex Galchenyuk and his father problems when he was here with the Canadiens. You hope it's not going to be that way with Lane Hutson, but I'm sure it's going to get settled. I don't think the Canadiens are going to give him $10 million. I think it's going to be. I think the most he's going to get, at least now, would be matching Dobson's $9.5 million, maybe a little bit below that. But for Lane Hutson, no, I'm not worried about a sophomore jinx. I mean, will he get 60 assists again? Maybe, maybe not. You think he would, just because the fact Demidov has joined them. But as I mentioned, Demidov's on the second power play unit and Hudson's on the first. We'll see if that changes. But I mean, the compete level. You were talking about Brendan Gallagher. Lane Hudson's the same way. The compete level is always there. He's going to give you everything he has every shift he's on the ice. So I'm not concerned about him. And I'm sure that contract will get settled. I mean, it's Cortex Management that's representing him. Apparently, there's different agents now involved, and Kent Hughes knows all those guys. That was his company, right? Where he became GM. So I'm confident at some point something will get worked out, and then Lane Hutson can just focus on hockey again and not worry about all the other stuff.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, again, it doesn't seem like he's too involved in it.
No, he says he hasn't been, which is the way it should be. And, when his dad had those comments about Lane not being invited to the U.S. Olympic camp, and they made some headlines, and I wrote a column after that saying, hockey dads, once your kid becomes a pro, you got to take a step back. And there's a reason why they pay agents, right? There's a reason why agents make a lot of money. There's a reason why Kent Hughes became a multimillionaire as a player agent, because they take care of the players and take care of the problems. And for Lane Hutson to sort of step back, and I think that for the father to take a step back and let these agents work it out. And if he's not happy with the agents, change agents. But again, I think that Kent Hughes is going to be fair. The thing is, and the other thing is, I mean, the Canadiens don't have to rush into this. Lane Hutson becomes a restricted free agent after this season, but he's not eligible for an offer sheet next summer, right? So I mean, the Canadiens could just give him a qualifying offer next summer if they wanted. They don't want it to come to that, obviously, right? They don't want to go that far. But the Canadiens don't have to be in a rush to settle this and to sign this right now. And they're being patient. And that patience has been a key word with the Canadiens ever since this rebuild began. I think the key, though, and you hope that Lane is stepping back and letting the agents deal with it and it doesn't get personal like it did with Andrei Markov and Marc Bergevin, because Markov decided to represent himself instead of having an agent. For a player to be in a room and having management say bad things about you or negative things, because it's negotiating, right? They want to pay you less than you think you should get, and you want to get more than they want to offer you. So for Lane, just step back, let his agents handle it, have them come to the deal that they think is good for him, and take it from there.
Yeah, I wonder if these latest few deals that are, been announced have a little bit of an impact. But again, it's different positions.
Well, it's interesting. No team. I was working on my Stu Slapshot notebook. The first one's going to come out this weekend for the Gazette. No team in NHL history has won the Stanley Cup with a player making more than $10 million. The Panthers had two guys making exactly $2 million last year, Barkov and their goalie. But that, as the salary cap goes up, there's 16 guys this season in the NHL making more than $10 million, including 3 on the Oilers and 2 on the Leafs, and 2 on the Rangers. So, NHL history has shown that it's hard to win when you have all your money locked up in 2, 3, or the core 4 guys with the Leafs. It makes it hard to win the Stanley Cup, and that's when you look at what happened in Edmonton with McDavid signing for $12.5 million for 2 more years. No, he hasn't. It's gonna be like 10 years. He hasn't had a raise. Sidney Crosby did the same thing in Pittsburgh, $8.7 million. With his new contract, Sidney Crosby will have made $8.7 million for 19 straight seasons. Think about that. They want to win, and in a hard salary cap world, that's just the reality. And Alan Walsh tweeted out something earlier this week saying Bob Goodenow, and they were fighting against having a hard salary cap. This was one of his big concerns, is that the top players would be looked at as being greedy if they took all the money they could rather than thinking about the team. Whereas you can compare that to baseball or basketball or that. I mean, the top guys make the top guy in basketball is Seth Curry this year is making like $59 million. The top baseball player is making $70 million. Top football players making $60 million, and Connor McDavid, the best player in hockey, is making $12.5 million. But that's the reason why the owners love Gary Bettman. He was willing to lock out the players and get them that hard salary cap, and the Players Association caved and gave it to them, and this is the situation they find themselves in now. And the same thing now with Lane Hutson's the next guy with the situation. Do you want the most money you possibly can get, or do you want to have a chance to win a Stanley Cup and maybe take a little bit less?
Well, within the case of Lane Hutson, it's tough, because if you ask him, I'm sure he wants to, take, what's fair value. He doesn't want it to be dragged out. He'll take fair value, probably take a little bit less, because, value-wise, just on the player, forget, all the additives of, not being arbitration available and all those leverage points that the Canadiens have. He knows he's going to make a boatload of money.
Yeah,
it's
21 years old. I mean, if they got 8 years and $9 million, $72 million, that's his life will never be the same again, right? He'll never have to worry about money again in his life, right?
Well, that's it. And he's just taking counsel right now. He's a 21-year-old kid taking counsel from experienced people who he probably went to them and said, this is completely, just not based in fact or anything, but I'm just, a bit major speculation. It would be like him going to them and saying, hey, I want to take $7 million. And they would say, what are you, crazy? You can get way more than that. We're going to get you way more than that. And we're not going to stop until we get it.
Connor McDavid could have had whatever. He could have had the maximum was a 20. You could have like, $17, $18 million a year if you wanted. You could have at least said, okay, give me another $500,000 to $13 million, but no, he stayed at the $12.5 million. And that's, you can argue rightly or wrongly. These guys, their careers are short, and they want to try and make as much money as they possibly can, but they're making a lot of money no matter what, right? I mean, people don't feel sorry for Connor McDavid still making $12.5 million a year, plus whatever he's making in endorsement money and whatever else. And again, it's the NHLPA agreed to a hard salary cap, and the owners were willing to lock the players out for an extended period of time to get it. And that's one of the big reasons why NHL franchise values are skyrocketing, because if you buy an NHL team, you know exactly the minimum you can pay on salaries and the maximum you can pay on salaries. So it's a set business plan going into it. Whereas you look at baseball, baseball now, more than half the teams in the league aren't even trying to win, right?
Yeah.
They can't. How can you compete with the Yankees and the Red Sox and even the Blue Jays and Vladimir Guerrero 500? You can't compete. A team like the Pittsburgh Pirates, right? They have that beautiful ballpark in Pittsburgh. They basically just put a team on the field to play games against the other teams. And the owner's probably making monies because he's only paying whatever in salaries. I can't remember what team it was. They had like a $30 million payroll this year, which is
it's probably the A's. They're not even the Oakland A's anymore.
Which is like half of what Ohtani's making alone with the Dodgers. So it's that's you can make arguments both ways. Is a salary cap league? Is a salary cap league better? Yes, because I think there's more parity. It makes it. But is it better for players? No, because there's a cap on what they can make, and it's the top level guys like Connor McDavid is so underpaid when you look at the pay scale for other leagues in North American sports. And $12.5 million. How much money do the Edmonton Oilers make off of Connor McDavid every year with jersey sales and everything else? So, but it's the reality of the hockey world. The NHL has their hard salary cap, and that's the way it goes.
Well, to me, it's, you mentioned Steph Curry in the NBA, and that's not even, to me, the crazy part that he's making $59 million. What's crazy to me is that a bench player in the NBA are the ones that are making more than Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
That, to me, is the crazy part. So, anyways, we'll see. Just a side note, it's very funny that Connor McDavid signs that deal, and then immediately Stan Bowman gives 7 times 7 to Jake Wallman, who's a fine defenseman, but just kind of gave away all that money you saved on Connor McDavid to Jake Wallman.
Well, that's part of the reason McDavid did it, right? And McDavid set a timeline too, right? He has this season and then 2 more years with the extension. Yeah. So basically, he's told the Edmonton management, "You got 3 years." So I've done my part. I've done my part on and off the ice now, and financially. It's up to you guys now to build a team around me, maybe with a goalie who can stop some pucks and win a Stanley Cup. And if they don't, or even if they do, if they win the Stanley Cup, let's say they win 2 Stanley Cups in the next 3 years, does Connor McDavid stay, or does he say, "I've done what I wanted to do in Edmonton. I'm going to go live in Florida and make $25 million with no state tax and whatever else"? And if they don't win, then I think he's definitely going to say, "I did my part, and time to move on somewhere else where I can win."
Well, that's it, because if they don't win, he's finished. He's finished in Edmonton because...
Well, he's made it clear he wants to win. That's his number one priority. He's made that very clear. The same way Sidney Crosby has made it very clear. $8.7 million for Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby's won 3 Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh during that period that he's been making that same salary. So with Connor McDavid, similar type thing. Same, and now we can see the 2 Stanley Cup finals in a row. It's hard just to get there. It's even harder to win. As I mentioned, the injuries to the Panthers this year, maybe they won't have to face the Panthers in the final this year, which would be good for them. But we'll see as the season goes along.
We will. But to bring it back to the Montreal Canadiens, they and Lane Hutson, he already knows. He's seen the example of Sidney Crosby. He's seen the example now of Connor McDavid being set. That's not to say that Lane Hutson is on the level of those guys, but. Listen, we just saw Kirill Kaprizov sign a $17 million a year deal.
Mm-hmm.
We just saw Kyle Connor sign a $13 million or $12 million deal per year. So he knows that he's got to, listen. He doesn't have a lot of cards, but he's still got to play ball. He's still got to play ball with the Canadiens.
And for Lane Hutson, if money is his number one priority, it's probably in his best interest to sign a bridge deal. Yeah. With the Canadiens, and then like PK Subban did, and then try and cash in afterwards. But as I mentioned to you before on previous podcasts, $72 million is a lot of guaranteed money to leave on the table for anybody, especially a smallish type defenseman playing in the NHL.
Yep. So we'll see, and we'll see how they can improve tomorrow night. Stu, what do you got? What do you got for me tomorrow night? Listen, it's a game against Chicago. It's early in the season. Chicago looks they look okay through 2 games. You know, Connor Bedard looks like they found something there finally. It looked like it's clicking.
I think the Canadiens win tomorrow night. Like I'm going to say 4-1. I just think that they're feeling good about themselves. Starting on the road with 3 games, I think, is a good thing in some ways, especially when they already have the 1 win. They're bonding. They had a day off today in Chicago. Not a bad city to have a day off in. Lots of nice restaurants and things to do there. So yeah, I think they're really bonding. As I mentioned before, I think they're buying into what Marty St. Louis is selling. I think they're feeling good about themselves, and I'd be surprised if they don't play really well tomorrow night against Chicago.
And keep an eye out for this tomorrow night, Stu. It's just, I find, you know, I'm sure you see it when, you know, 2 teams play each other, the fans of each team's engaging with each other on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Chicago fans seem to, you know, be overcompensating maybe a little bit, that they're a little jealous that the Canadiens have Ivan Demidov and that they took Artem Levshunov a 2nd overall in that draft. So just keep an eye out on that, because you'll notice it. You'll notice it a lot.
And Kirby Dach usually has played well in the past when he's gone back to Chicago. So
yeah, you know what? Maybe this is the game that Kirby Dach can find his legs under him, and we see him come out of his shell a little bit. We can only hope. But listen, not much wrong going with the Canadiens, and I don't expect that to start tomorrow night. So Stu, enjoy the hockey game tomorrow night, and enjoy your weekend.
All right, you too.
That was Stu Cowan. I'm Matt Ohayon. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you next time.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.